everyone, welcome back to Ecoholics. So welcome to today's video to get your economics ka gyan. So in today's video, I will be teaching you the topic of aggregate demand in the most easiest way. So by watching this video, you would know what is aggregate demand, how do we derive it, how do we make its curve, what factors bring a change in the curve, how do you move upwards or downwards the aggregate demand curve. So by watching this video, you would be completely knowledgeable about aggregate demand curve and you can easily write your answers for your examinations. So let's get to the video and understand this concept. So what is aggregate demand should be your first question to understand that what is my aggregate demand. So aggregate demand is a macro level concept where we talk about economy together. So aggregate demand means that the individuals of economy, what is the total demand by them? And when I talk about total demand, the demand has to be for my finished goods, my final goods and services. So it refers to the total demand for finished goods and services in the economy. Now, what does this finished goods mean here? Finished good means which is ready for the final consumption, which is ready for the final consumption. Because if there is a good which is not used for final consumption, but it is used by some another industry, some another individual to produce another product, it means that that is not final consumption, it is intermediate consumption. So when you're using a product, when you're using a good as a raw material, as an input for producing another product, that is not final consumption, that is intermediate consumption. So when we calculate aggregate demand, we do not include intermediate goods because the reason is very simple. If you are, let's say, producing a product A, so you're producing a good A, let's say, you have used 2 units of good X while producing this. So you have produced, let's say, 10 units of good A, and in the production of 10 units of good A, you have used 2 units of good X. Now, when I'm trying to calculate my aggregate demand, if I talk about the wrong method, what will I do? I will say, okay, I have produced 10 units of good A and 2 units of good X. So this gives me 12 units. So aggregate demand is 12 units. But this is completely wrong. Why is this completely wrong? It is completely wrong because these 2 units of goods are not finally consumed. These were shared to good A, these were shared with the industry producing good A, and ultimately these 2 units have been processed and they are converted to the 10 units of good A. So they are already included under the 10 units. Okay, so aggregate demand here would be 10 units. We are not discussing about the good X final consumption. Of course, that can also have final consumption. So we are not considering it over here just for this example. So that is how we do not include the intermediate goods. Finished products are the goods and services that have been fully manufactured and it is ultimately going to be consumed and not some value addition is going to happen over that. It reflects the relationship between the price level and the quantity of output demanded. So aggregate demand tells you that what will be the quantity demanded at a particular level of price. So if the price level is 10, what is going to be the demand of the economy? If it rises to 12, what will be the demand? If it falls to 8, the price level falls to 8, what will be the quantity demanded? All right, that is the aggregate demand. Now, what are the components of aggregate demand? How do I select? How do I select the components of aggregate demand, or basically what compromises of aggregate demand? So aggregate demand has majorly four variables that needs to be included. First is consumption, which is the final consumption by individuals. Second, investment spending by people, by government spending, the consumption expenditure done by government, and net exports. So the aggregate demand is equal to C plus I plus G plus what do we call net exports as? NX, which is equal to exports minus imports. So net exports. So now we are going to discuss these four components in detail. We are going to discuss these four components in detail. Now, understand one thing here. What is consumption spending? So, this is my first component. This is my first component of aggregate demand, that is consumption spending. So, it refers to the total spending of individuals and households on the consumption of goods and services in the economy. So, whatever a household, a person living in the economy spends to eat, to live, to wear clothes, to avail services, to travel, everything is included in the consumption expenditure. Now, my consumption depends upon what is the disposable income of people, per capita income, debt, consumer preferences and their expectations, future economic conditions, and interest rates as well. So all these factors decide the consumption spending. So consumption spending decides aggregate demand, of course, as one of the component, but that is in turn dependent upon these factors. So whenever any change come in those factors, consumption spending and hence aggregate demand is also going to change. So these three factors, main disposable income, consumer confidence, and the wealth decides how much a consumer is going to spend upon a particular product. All right. So this formula, and we have discussed about the consumption spending. Is it clear? Now talking about investment spending. So investment spending is very important to understand. Many people think that whenever some asset is purchased, that is investment. So I want to break that myth here. Investment is the total expenditure on new capital goods. Okay, so the focus is new capital goods and services such as you're buying machinery, equipments, or there is change in inventories. What do we mean by change in inventories? That means closing stock minus opening stock, investment in non-residential structures as well as residential structure. So I want to tell you two different type of investment which students think both of them are investments. So if I talk about my case 1, we say that there is person X who has just bought an old home, ठीक है, an old home worth rupees, let's say 10 lakh, okay, worth rupees 10 lakh. In case 2, person Y constructed a new house worth rupees 50 lakhs. Now, in this case, what would be the investment? Many students make this mistake by saying that the investment is 10 and plus 50, so 60 lakhs, because investment is happening. Two houses are being bought, so 10 and 50, which is the 60 lakh. But that is wrong. So 60 lakh is the wrong answer here, because the real investment expenditure is instead 50 lakhs. The reason is very simple. This 10 lakh is only a transfer of the asset from one person to another. So this house, this is an old house. So construction is not happening in this fiscal year. So expenditure is not being now. It is already recorded in the previous records. Now, investment spending is again determined by these factors in interest rate, because a lot of the times investment is done by borrowing money. Future expectations regarding economy, government incentives, such as if you're getting tax benefit by making an investment, you are inclined to be attractive, to get attracted towards it. or if you're getting subsidies. So all these factors decide the investment expenditure happening in any economy. Now, next to this, we are going to discuss about government spending. So, government spending is the total amount of expenditure done by government on infrastructure, investment, defense, military equipment, public sector facilities, healthcare services, government employees की salaries, pensions. All of what government spends is included in government spending. It all, but a key point to take care is that whatever government spend on transfer payments such as pension plans, subsidies, or the transfers made to other countries for the aid like medical aid, some natural disaster aid, all of that is excluded. So you exclude the transfer payments because the transfer payments are always one sided payments. That is not something you're going to get in return. So we exclude that. So we only include the salary of government employees here and not the pension plans. We don't include there. So that is about the government spending component in detail. Now, after this, net exports. Now, why are we adding in our aggregate demand? We are adding consumption, investment, government spending. Exports are getting added, but imports are getting subtracted. So, aggregate demand means that in the economy, what is being produced to satisfy the demand? What is the demand of of the goods and services produced in the domestic territory of the economy? So, export is the demand of foreigners from our economy, but it is getting produced here. So that is part of aggregate demand. Whereas import is the demand of people living in our economy, but that is something not produced by us. That is something we are getting from other countries in the form of imports. So we subtract that because imports are products that are manufactured abroad and imported for domestic purchase. So they are not part of aggregate demand. It is very important to remember that aggregate demand is the total demand for domestically produced goods and services. Very important point here to keep in notice. Therefore, exports are added and imports are subtracted. All right, and net exports is very important determinant of your aggregate demand. Okay, now aggregate demand curve. Aggregate demand curve is always a downward sloping curve. It is always a downward sloping curve. Why is it a downward sloping curve? Because you have an inverse relationship between prices and aggregate demand or the output of the economy. Okay, output or aggregate demand. You can write anything here for understanding. Because whenever prices would increase, aggregate demand would fall. Whenever prices would fall, aggregate demand would rise. So if you focus here, when the price is 120, the aggregate demand is somewhere between 150 to 175. Whereas if the prices fell to 80, then at 80, what is happening? The demand is going and increasing between 225 to 250. So we have moved from point A to point B. So we are shifting, not the curve is not shifting. This is movement along the aggregate demand curve. So we are moving downwards because aggregate demand is rising as a result of price fall. So that is movement along the aggregate demand curve. Now, next to this, as we have discussed, what are the if we just conclude whatever we have talked about here, what are the determinants of aggregate demand? Price level. So higher price means decrease in aggregate demand and vice versa. Consumer and business confidence, very important. If people feel that economy is not safe, it is not secure, their investments are not secure, there would be a drastic fall in aggregate demand, just as you observe in the case of recession in the economy. Government policies also play an important role as one of the factor that will be playing an important role to decide the investment, the government expenditure, as well as the consumption expenditure and exchange rates, because exchange rates are going to affect the export and import of any country. So these four factors determine aggregate demand on a major basis. But why is the aggregate curve sloping downward? That we have just discussed, but we will be discussing it according to these three different factors. So real income effect is something we have discussed. So real income effect says that because when the price will fall, given the consumer is having the same income, so now you have 100 rupees. Earlier the price was 20, so with 100 you can buy 5 units of a good. But now if the price level has fallen to 10, with 100 now you can purchase 10 units of the same good. So real value of income rises and consumers can buy more of what they want. So this is the real money balance effect. The second is trade effect, because the aggregate demand is not just based on your consumption. So we need to see the downward effect because of consumption, because of investment, because of net exports as well. So trade effect. Trade effect defines why the aggregate demand curve is downward sloping. So whenever there is going to be a fall in the relative price of country X, so there are two countries. So the price level in one country is falling. What will happen? You will be attracted towards the good of those countries because they are now cheaper. So what will happen? Exports will rise and hence aggregate demand will rise. So again, a fall in price level led to increase in exports and fall in imports as well. So exports increases, so aggregate demand increases. This is the trade effect. The third is interest rate effect. This affect the investment happening in the economy. So if the price inflation is low, this will lead to reduction in interest rate, because we all know that if the inflation is in control, the RBI always cut down on the rates of interest. So lower interest rate means there is less incentive to save, and also a fall in interest rate means the borrowing is cheaper now, and you would purchase, you would borrow more, and more investment is going to happen. Also, whenever we talk about interest rate effect, that also affects the exchange rate, which leads to improvement in exports. So again, when the prices are low, that brings lower interest rate and higher exports as well as higher investment. This is another reason why aggregate demand curve is downward sloping. But how can aggregate demand curve shift? So what do we mean by shift? Shift means, so for example, if this is aggregate demand curve, the demand curve can shift upwards as well as shift downward. What are the factors that can bring this shift? We will discuss that which factor will shift it upward, which factor will shift it downward. But first, let us know about the factors. The first is changes in real income and employment, changes in government spending, taxation, and borrowing, change in monetary policy, interest rate, supply of credit, change in external value of a country's exchange rate, changes in the rate of economic growth of trading partner nations, fluctuations in consumer and business confidence. Can you imagine how many factors are being taken care of while you make a decision for demanding something? This is very true. If you feel yourself as the consumer, you see a lot of things before making that final purchase. So all these factors affect it. But how do they affect it? Do they bring the aggregate demand curve downward or upward? As you can see here, this is an upward shift, or we also call it rightward shift in aggregate demand. When the aggregate demand shift to the left, we call it leftward shift or downward shift as well. All right. But which factors bring the shift towards the right side or towards the left side? So any factor, first of all, any factor. Now, what do we mean by shift towards the right side? So if you're shifting towards right side, let's say you are standing at point A. Now shifting rightwards mean you are shifting from point A to point B, which means at the same price level, you are demanding higher output or more demand is generated. Or in other words, if you were consuming, let's say 180 units, 175 or 180 units at 160, now the same units, the same demand is going to be available at the over here at a higher price, because you can consume more demand can be generated, which will lead to the same price. So if you have to pay the same price, you need to have more demand in that economy. Similarly, when I talk about the leftward shift, at the same price, the demand has fallen. So here the demand has fallen in leftward shift at same price level. In the rightward shift at the same price level, demand has increased. All right. So let's see which all factors bring increase in demand and decrease in demand at same. Now, if I talk about rightward shift, if there is tax cut, say what will happen? More income in the hand of people and hence higher demand. Consumer confidence is rising. They are more feeling more secure. So more demand is generated through investment, consumption, expenditure. Lower interest rate. We have discussed this. Lower interest rate means higher investment. Expansionary fiscal policy. So government is spending more money, hence higher aggregate demand. Depreciation of domestic currency means more exports and hence higher aggregate demand. Global economic expansion. So now we are expanding, higher exports. Increased money supply is eventually going to give more cash in hand among people. So they would ask for more demand. Population growth, increasing demand. So population growth also increases the demand. Leftward shift would be the opposite of this. Higher taxes, lower consumer confidence, rising interest rate, decline in wealth, supply chain disruptions, appreciation of domestic currency, higher interest rate, economic downturns, that is recession, tight credit conditions. So that will lead to fall in aggregate demand even at the same price level. So all these factors are going to bring a shift in aggregate demand, and this is how they are going to do it. All right. So this is how you can very easily remember it. I hope with this video, now your topic of aggregate demand is quite clear. And if you find this video useful, please share it with your friends, subscribe to our channel because we will keep continuing giving you economics ka gyan in very simplest terms. All right. So do let us know in the comment section which topic do you want me to break down in the simplest bits in my next video, and I would be really happy making video for that topic which you want. All right. Thank you for watching this video. I will see you soon in another video.